Hello, hello. All right, mate. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? No.
Testing, testing. There we go.
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine, mate.
Testing, testing. Bravo Alpha Zulu. Yeah? No, I can't hear you, mate.
Oh, can you hear me all right?
I can. So,
Yeah.
am I all right? You can hear and see me, yeah?
Yeah, I can hear, see you fine.
Such a beautiful sight to behold, right?
The lucky audience today.
Wow, man. Wow, it is what it is. Yeah. So, what have you been up to?
Catching up. Obviously, I was training yesterday, so just trying to catch up on various bits.
Cool. All right. So, who is Adam going to introduce us and stuff, and then we'll have a little bit of spiel about how this all got started. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, I think Adam's going to be sort of the host as such, so he'll probably do an introduction and then he'll bring in each key point and I guess any questions that, um,
All
I think
right.
we just sort of go with the flow from his direction, really.
Sorted. How do you think Gavin's show's been going?
I don't know. So I asked Gavin when we were in Croatia about that, and he said the first one he did was they were full of really bad technical issues. So I don't know if it ran as to plan for him. I haven't heard or seen them do any more since then. So I don't know if they've done any more since that first one.
Mm. Well, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. It's a nice concept. Um, I'm doing something. I don't. Have you spoken to Daryl about the show we're going to be doing?
No, no.
So yeah, I'm doing a show with Daryl actually. So I've pitched him a show.
Nice.
No doubt you'll be reached out to at some point. But I quite like. He's got a good. He sort of. His production value is pretty high, isn't it?
Really good. Well, they've put money into getting. He's got the best equipment, the best setup, and, the resources to do it. So yeah, it is a lot better than most out there.
And he's got a bit of experience as a presenter. I think he knows what he's doing. So that's good.
No, Daryl's a good guy. So what's the show going to be? What's it going to be?
Well, my initial thought process was I wanted to do a show that's it's like just a panel discussion of like a couple of people every week similar, and then like a couple of rolling guests, and it's just about topical issues from the week. And you have it's based on a sports show. You don't you have like a sports roundup, and you have like a few panelists, and there's like there's the stats guy, there's like the comical sports guy, and there's like and it's just all of the above. Adam, how you doing?
Didn't notice him come on then. Oh, here he comes.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, coming through loud and clear.
Can't see you
Can you
though.
see me? No. I my laptop's just decided to go black screen for some reason, so I've had to just ping over to a different one.
That's a shame.
Hmm. Hold on. Hey, there we go. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, all good.
Cool. All right. So where are we?
12 people logged in already, though. It's a good sign.
Can anyone hear what's happening now before we start, Adam?
No, I'm not entirely sure. I'm just trying to work it out because I'm on a different. In the bottom left is the.
I don't want to start kicking off too soon.
There we go.
You know what I mean?
Hold on. Yeah, people can hear us now, so it's kicked in. Yeah, don't get too excited. It's too early.
Well, I'm only going to say what I think. It's not as it can't be. I'm not going to prefabricate anything.
There's no filter with Steve. It's full on honesty or nothing.
It's not the WWF as much as I used to watch wrestling back in the day. But hopefully, we're going to get some key points we can all take away and learn from today. That's the point. But
Yeah, I think that's the aim, isn't it?
if you want to challenge me to a SummerSlam or something, we'll talk about that another time.
That could be the next step, Steve. Let's go all in.
I do warn you, I am 17 stone though, Dan. So be careful what you wish for.
Actually, if I remember right, haven't you done quite a lot of martial arts as well over the years?
I wouldn't call myself I won't call myself Bruce Lee, but I do like to do a bit of boxing and whatnot. But I don't really get that much. As much as I want to put a few lads and ladies in my office in a sleeper hold from time to time, it doesn't really go down that well in London, especially with some of the new HR regulations what are going around.
Right. Okay. What I'm gonna have to switch between there and there. Cool. All right. So we'll give it till 4 o'clock, and then I don't know whether you just want to mute and that until 4, and then we'll jump back on.
Well, I just want to say, anyone who has logged in, thanks very much.
Yeah, sure.
My apologies for my circumstances. You might think I'm inside a cardboard box or some sort of prison cell, but I'm actually in my comms room because my Wi-Fi's been playing up today, so I didn't want to chance. And also, I've just come off the sales floor, which I'll discuss later at 4 when we kick off. I've just come off the sales floor, so there's too much noise because we're actually talking to people and creating demand and doing business. So I thought, hold on, I better go and take it somewhere a bit quieter. So I've had to come in my comms room, which is in the process of being decorated. So that explains that. And this headset as well, I feel like I'm about to land a chopper, Bravo Alpha Zulu, right? But I needed it because I had a bit of technical difficulties earlier on. So that explains the headset and the room. I think we're all ready to crack on, aren't we?
He's just making a big point about the whole cold calling piece. That's why he's got the headset on.
That's
props.
It. The props are needed. Props are needed. Props are effective.
Anyway, we've got the one and only Andrew Morrow logged in as well.
Who is he? Andrew, nice to have you with us. If I've already met you, my apologies, but if I haven't,
you'll know him on digital. He's the one that's written that cool book, and he posts memes on everything that comes out from the daily sales.
I'm sure you're cool, mate. I'm sure you're absolutely cool. Meme master, Andrew Morrow, the meme master. All right. So yeah, let's talk afterwards on the phone or over a beer or coffee. Yeah.
Well, we've got a few minutes. Yeah, let's give people the last 3-4 minutes to log in.
We won't get into this until 4 o'clock.
You know what would be nice, Adam? It would have been like a nice little screen, so when people log in, they're just waiting with bated breath and anticipation.
Well, they were. I think because we had technical issues, I think you can. Oh, here we go. Got loads of people on there.
I feel like I'm in the green room waiting to be unleashed.
I think Steve wanted his own walk-in music and everything,
Well,
maybe next time. Maybe next time.
It's a thought for the future. It's a good idea, actually, though. Oh, wow.
Right, let's have a look at attendees. How are we getting on? Okay, got a few more people logging in. Let's just see how.
Welcome, Steve Jones. Welcome, Sam Hill.
We've got someone in the audience from Kenya, apparently.
Welcome to chat from Kenya. I've heard Mombasa is a fantastic place.
Going worldwide.
We are.
Global reach. Global reach.
Oh, that'd be interesting. I'm just trying to pick up the.
Are you back?
Yeah, is
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
working
I'm
all-
here. Yeah.
Thought you'd done a run,
Yeah, I
lads.
think so. We'll find out in a minute.
Thought you'd bailed on me. Right, should we get cracking? And then people join on. It's going to be recorded and podcast anyway, so Sounds
we
good
can.
to me.
Cool. Right. Okay. So thank you for everyone that has logged on. I'm just flicking through on the channel. Unfortunately, I've had to use temporary. Oh, they've broken the internet. Yeah, almost. I think we might break it in a minute. So thank you for logging in. As you know, social media has been full and covered of this subject for many months, and we thought it would best to sort of just have a debate about it from two professionals from either end of the scale, I suppose, but also people that could really give some real life clarity as to exactly what is going on. So what we're going to do is the way it's going to work is we're just going to go through a few questions directed at Dan, Steve to answer, directed at Steve, Dan to answer. And then what we're going to do, we're going to open up the chat room to anyone that has got a question following on from the discussions, or people that are unsure or want to challenge anyway, blah, blah, blah. So just before we get started, been told I need to give a shout out to the ISM. There's probably a few that jumped on. I know a couple registered towards the end. Thank you for putting your name on it and supporting us. And hopefully we'll give some good content to everybody that's listening. So those who don't know who I am, my name's Adam Johnson. I'm the owner and founder of a company called The Webinar Company. And we do exactly this, but also we work on a business side of things. But if you ever want to look at it, we're on LinkedIn and the internet like everyone else. For those who don't know, we'll go through a quick intro through Dan and through Steve, because people might be a fan of Dan and sit in Dan's call, but not know who Steve is, and vice versa. So Dan, did you want to just give a short intro to yourself?
Yeah, of course. So for those who don't know, I'm Dan Disney. I'm a social selling trainer. I run a company called The Daily Sales as well, and yeah, very much a passionate social seller. I'm a big fan. I've got a history in traditional sales, but I'm here to hopefully showcase just how good social selling is and kind of where it fits in the whole spectrum.
Steve.
Well, thanks for that, Dan. Those of you who have not come across me or met me in person or had a conversation with me, my name's Steve Burton. I'm the head of sales and training at The Point Girl, based in Kingston. We're a demand generation agency specialised bringing technology to market and creating demand for cybersecurity and infrastructure products. So this is what I do on a daily basis. I've just come off my sales floor 5 minutes ago. I'm actually in my comms room, so that explains for those of you who are thinking, where is Steve? Dan, I must say I'm very envious of your bookcase. Very impressive. You obviously read a lot of books.
I know you love a good bookcase.
Maybe I don't read as many books as you, but I've got a lot of live experience. It's next door. So I'm looking forward to cracking into this. Look, I don't want it to be too confrontational, but I do have a point to make. I'm a man who believes in saying what I see, and I like to give people factual, credible information. It's the industry I work in, and that's what my reputation's built on, and that's how I get clients. So I had to call you out on a few things. Hopefully we can get that resolved. And again, shout out to the ISM, who also believe in ethical selling, for supporting this, picking the brand on it. I'll see you guys on Friday at the British Sales Awards, which I'm in the final of 5 categories. So I'll see you then, guys. All right.
Oh dear. Right. Okay. So let's crack on.
A couple of messages just coming through saying that they can't see it. I don't know if anyone's listening now. Are we coming through, or is there any issues?
Can hear or see anything. Even YouTube isn't working. Just try and refresh the feed. We've had. I think everyone else seems to be okay.
You see, guys, if we're all meeting up to discuss this in a pub, this wouldn't be happening, would it?
No, exactly.
We've all had a couple of pints by now, and we'd all be best mates and doing business.
Okay. Some people can hear but no picture, but that could be the access to their computers, or what they have allowed or not allowed. Whoever is listening, don't worry about it. It is being fully recorded, and we will issue it as a podcast. We are on a limited time. We've got busy guys here, so we'll crack on into it. Once again, within 48 hours of the stream, we'll release a video and podcast version for people to go through as and wish they want to. And there will be a link to anything via Twitter as well, so they can ask Dan Steve and myself any questions after the event. So I've got 3 categories here, 3 avenues. I think the first one, I'm going to fire at Steve. And the reason is because I think he'll probably be able to put more context to what it is. And then Dan, you respond in that way. So the first comment we've got that kept coming up and was, can a salesperson hit quota just with social? Steve.
Okay, so let me put a little bit of context around this situation and why it all started, and why it's a genuine inquiry from me. Like, I don't post anything I don't believe. I don't post anything that I'm not looking for information around. So Marcus Couchy from Sandler Training, he reached out to me. He's one of the top Sandler trainers in the country, and he told me an interesting statistic. He said, Steve, in 2013, 64% of sales reps were hitting quota. In 2018, that's dropped aggressively under 50%. Now, I'm not a big fan of stats and figures. We all know the stats. 9 out of 10 cats love meow mix. 8 out of 10 dogs love pedigree chum. Figures and stats can be manipulated if there's an agenda to sell something. So whoever came up with that stat, I'm sure they've got some sort of agenda. But it started getting me thinking. I thought, well, is this the case? There's never been more avenues to be able to sell. There's never been more ways to learn how to sell. It's never been easier to reach out and talk to people. So why are people not hitting quota? And why am I seeing this as well? When I'm going out to train people, when I'm meeting businesses, when I'm getting introduced to sales teams, I'm hearing the same thing. So I thought, well, what's changed? Well, there could be a number of things. Is it more competitive now? Are the way people buy in? Is the way people buying changing? Is that affecting traditional methods? That could be one way. Are people more educated in the process now, so they like to buy themselves, and that's why salespeople aren't getting accredited for hitting the quota? But also, one thing that remains current is the rise of social media. So I thought to myself, is social media affecting the times? Is it having an effect on the way salespeople prospect? Because lack of pipelines, one of the top things that are affecting people hitting quota. So is too much time on social media affecting it? Is ineffective social media presence affecting it? Are the wrong habits and methods affecting it? And is it in turn affecting the sales industry as a whole? So I just thought, I was on my mobile phone, I had a big black coffee, I was feeling a bit agitated, sent out a message saying, social trainers, and it wasn't directed to you, Dan. I don't think you class yourself as a social trainer, do you? But anyway, social trainers, can you give me any examples of any of your clients or yourself hitting your quota by social touches only? Because I want to equate how much time should we be spending on these activities. Are any of your clients, or are you making sales using social touches only? That was the question. Now, I was expecting a lot of trolls and haters and social media advocates, which I am one of, to jump on me and come at me, which I love a bit of that anyway. And I thought they'd say, no, Steve, think about, I've done this. I've sold 5 bird cages to some old grannies. I've sold some cyber tech. I've done this. I've done that. And I thought it was going to be wild and varied. Radio silence. Nothing. Right?
Yeah.
So, hold on. This must be a problem, because if people can't shoot me down online, and I'm happy to be proved wrong, because if someone can prove me wrong and I can learn from it, I'm going to earn from it, and I'm all about making money. Okay. Nobody put anything online, any tangible cases, and I'm still looking for it now. If someone wants to hit me up after this or email me, whatever it is, tell me about it. I learn from you. But no one's giving me any tangible evidence of social touches only. So if it's not happening, it must be happening. I'm thinking, where? Look, then I look to myself and my team and say, well, what are we doing? Well, we're creating plenty of leads. We're creating loads of prospects, but none of it's closing because it's marketing activity. It's a marketing activity. We'll go on to that later. It's a marketing, branding, and prospecting activity to fill your pipeline. You have to reach out and talk to somebody. Just like on Tinder, you can swipe left all you want. You can like things, share things, but unless you meet somebody, nothing's happening. All right. So then I started thinking, is this the same for the sales industry? Is this the same for the sales industry? And then a guy called Andrew Jenkins reached out to me. I think he's probably on here now. Clever guy. And he said, Steve, have you seen the film Top Gun? I said, of course I've seen the film Top Gun. Big fan of Maverick, Goose, Hollywood, all the top guys. And he said, that film was based on a real academy. Top Gun Top Gun Academy was invented because the US Air Force were losing skills in dogfighting, relying too heavily on new technology to fight enemies. So they'd lost the dogfighting skills, which reduced the efficacy of their efforts, even before using something new. Highly active, and that's social propaganda and social media, who people are publicising this, is currently doing to the sales industry. People are gravitating too heavily towards it. It's not an activity that will garner you results fast, and they're losing the basic skills that enable people to hit targets in the past. And that's my belief, and that was the root of this. And it was not having a dig at anybody. It's literally a light bulb moment to say, need to work out a way of sorting it out, start doing better training, or enable people to do it effectively in their organization. Does that answer your question? This is the problem. Any room? I'm a solo, like Maverick.
Dan, we're back.
We're back in the room, gentlemen. Welcome back to the discussion. Right, so did that answer your question? Are we over? Or do you have got anything to say?
Done.
Case closed. Let's go watch Top Gun 2. It's coming out next year.
I think I missed the last 10 seconds of that, so I kind of got up until about the Top Gun bit. And yeah,
I think you got the gist of it, didn't we? So
yeah. No, I know. I mean, look, Steve, you made a really interesting point, and I think there was two parts where people got confused. One, were you referring to, and I think your initial post was, can someone hit target with sales that start and finish on social media? So from prospecting all the way through to closing, all interactions being just social based. And I think that was the point you clarified in the post a bit further down. And I think what Andrew Morrow B2B, yeah, the point that I tried to argue on that one is that in my opinion isn't like a sign of achievement or anything that sort of shows social selling as some amazing feature. I think we all know wherever a sale starts, you're going to need to use things like Skype, email, the phone. It's rare even in B2B that you're going to, especially with a complex sale, that you're going to make and close a sale just on the phone. You're going to need to send them information via email at some point. Chances are you're going to have to meet them, or you're going to have to do a Skype. So the question was a little bit loaded and misleading in that sense. Equally, the other point I think I tried to make in the sort of online debate that we had was that, let's say we're talking the more interesting question: could you hit your target just from sales that were generated on social selling? So really trying to break down the whole social cold calling, prospecting type of angle. And my argument was, then yeah, absolutely, there are salespeople and businesses that run purely on sales generated through social media. Now, doesn't mean they're all closed on social media, but in my opinion, that's not any sign of anything exciting. It's just that social can contribute to everyone's sales from an originating point. Now, we're then going to probably go off in a minute into the whole social prospecting, the marketing piece, which again is another angle to go down. But in terms of the question, can a salesperson hit quota through social selling? Well, yes, they can. But just like a salesperson can hit quota with cold calling, you're still going to need to leverage some of those other tools along the process as well.
Dan, give me an example, brother.
Well, all of my business is generated through social. I've met loads of businesses, different industries that run, and I will put together a list of names and companies and as much information as I can to kind of showcase that. Again, not to say they don't use the phone, Skype, face-to-face, etc., but all of those sales generate from social media as a start point.
Here's my view. Here's my point on it, and this is very important. Okay, if anyone listening, if anyone out there wants to prove me wrong, I'm all for it. I'm all for learning and learning. Right, this is what I'm saying to you. If someone wants to provide case studies or information around someone hitting a quota via what started on a social touch point and led to a sale, that's great. Now, Dan, you've used yourself as an example. I'm not going to doubt that because you're a credible guy, okay? And you fill your classes, you do talks in Croatia, and you do this, you do that, and you're doing fantastic. Every credit to you.
Thank you.
However, the average person out there, and this is where the propaganda problem comes in, just like the guy who's 22 stone and eats McDonald's every day, can't take a pill and get a six-pack in 6 weeks, right? Even though the picture on the picture in the magazine says he can.
Love
you can't do it. Yeah, your genetics won't let you do it. You're unhealthy. Okay, I've been there. Okay, now look, you have got a network of 300,000 followers for the daily sales. It's a great advertising platform. You've got a personal network of 45,000. Yeah, now I'm sure you can leverage that. You talk at events, you appear in magazines, you do webinars, you do podcasts, you do everything you need to do to create your own personal brand, which in turn has marketed yourself as a thought leader. You have a responsibility now, and I'll get onto that second. But the efficacy of your efforts, right? You can't. It's not comparable to a guy who's just coming into social media. Let me ask you this question: Day one in a job, you start. Pick any industry. Doesn't matter what it is. You're a family man. I know you're a family man. You need to hit target, or you're gonna get fired. All right? You've got a boss like me. Terrible, right? He's gonna fire you if you don't hit target. What avenue are you going to gravitate towards? Are you going to start setting up a LinkedIn page, start blogging, start doing all this social activity, or are you going to start actually trying to speak to a human to human interaction, whether it's phone, whether it's meeting for coffee, whether it's networking, whether it's going to an event, whether it's knocking a door? What are you going to do to make sure you've got a job and a paycheck in 4 weeks' time?
That's a really good question, Steve. Honestly, you're on the right track with that. But there are different types of people. There are people that will be better off picking up the phone and making calls. That is what they are better trained, experienced, and better at doing. Equally, there are going to be people that are going to have more success by jumping onto social media, and they will max out that, and they will generate just as much as the cold caller. I think it depends on the person.
I disagree with that. The fastest route to generating, I mean, like as a marketing activity, as a passive activity, or even as using social to leverage and prospect, it takes. I'm just talking about my experience. Someone can jump in and prove me wrong. I've got a team of people doing it out there, and yes, to get leads from social, which we convert. Of course, we do. Yes, we use email to start conversations, but again, it's a marketing qualified activity. Then we do sales qualified activities. But we're actually talking someone has to be some sort of touch point. One of the biggest problem I have with teaching, with working with new people, is procrastination on the phone. Procrastination not just on the phone, which people say is cold calling. I'm not talking about cold calling. I'm talking about using the phone to prospect. I'm talking about meeting somebody. A rejection from another human is one of the biggest fears of any individual. That's why people don't like public speaking. That's why people don't like asking the best looking girl in the school out on a date. So they gravitate to social media and think that's a sales-based activity. It's a marketing activity, and it's a long-term plan, which is essential to any team. But some of the stuff that's coming out online, some of the posts that are happening, are brainwashing people to think that they can get quick wins from it. And that's just not the norm in my experience, unless someone wants to give me some tangible explanation of it happening.
I'd be interested to see some of these posts. I know that one of the things you mentioned in the online debate was salespeople hiding behind social, and the social selling trainers or experts out there that are misleading salespeople into thinking that it's that easy, and by a couple of clicks or writing a couple of blogs, you're going to be able to hit your quota. And first of all, I mean, in the same instance, you're asking for social sellers to sort of show you where they're hitting target. I'd be interested to see what social selling experts or trainers are suggesting in any way that social selling is that silver bullet, or that it's that simple. I think the only place I see content like that is on Facebook, where you get those Facebook ad sellers that, paint this dream that if you go on their course or follow their guides, that you're going to be able to, grow business, hugely successfully, which, I mean, that's a whole separate world to sort of LinkedIn and B2B social selling. Sorry, I'm just distracted by the lovely Irish people from Steve Neal. Oh, here we go. That's the HubSpot comparison. That's a fair point. Look, there are lots of companies that are utilizing telemarketing. We all know the answer to all is to use them all. You don't have to make a choice. There isn't a salesperson sat there and you're going to say to them, look, you need to feed your family, you need to pay your mortgage, you need to choose cold calling or social selling. The reality is that person can use both of them and stand an even better chance of hitting their target and paying the mortgage, and providing for their family. So it's never been and never will be a choice between the phone and social. It's always been and should be about using them both together. I think the core of this is understanding that social selling can generate instant results and long-term results, as can the phone. They're just different methods. People have different preferences. If you try to cold call me as a prospect, I'm really, really unlikely to answer it. But if you interact with via email, digital, or even post, as I posted about recently, you'll connect with me. People have different preferences. Some answer the phones, some respond to social. It's just a different landscape now for salespeople.
So here's a question. The being a business owner of it, not really, specifically within a certain sales environment, what I see is it creates a protection for sort of the new age of staff or new age of people coming in. So my business can't run unless we sell something out to either an end user or to someone to produce stuff for. So, but what I see more and more is social selling the brand, I suppose. How it's portrayed is by the individual. It seems to me like a bit of a protection field. I think when back in the day when you didn't have that an option or social media wasn't quite there, or when we were learning, the internet was building, I suppose, there was no protection. You had to do what they do at Steve's, where you walk in an office and you've got nothing but a long list and a phone. But do you honestly feel that instead of it not being seeing a negative, I see that it needs to be a tool. We all need to use it better. But do you see where it comes from, where it's given people some false protection? It's like Instagram, for example. There's a lot of young people now posting pictures in front of a Ferrari, but actually in back they can't fill their Peugeot up with petrol. There's a very difference. That's maybe where it's coming from, is what I'm trying to get at.
I totally get what you're saying. The problem is, I think, and what we've got here are there potentially are salespeople hiding behind social media in the offices, saying that they're social selling and they're not hitting numbers. But again, you can't blame social media for that. You've got to blame the individual and the leadership around it. Because I've worked in it. My background is traditional sales, knocking doors, making cold calls, and I've led big teams making cold calls, and I've seen salespeople do just the same behind the phone. They will sit there ringing voicemails, ringing the same number 20 times, so their call stats look like they've made 20 calls, but they've rung the same number that they know is not going to answer them 20 times, so their stats look like that. Or they sit on voicemails. If people will hide anywhere they can find it, social media, because it's a platform there, just like anything else, is going to provide a place for them to hide. But there are others as well. It's not the platform's fault that they're hiding. It's their lack of confidence, lack of knowledge, lack of ability. They're either the wrong person for the job, or they just need more support and guidance to be able to use them properly. Because like the phone and like social media, for the right salespeople, these are amazing tools to sell. And it's just about making sure you've got the right people behind them to actually generate results. If someone's hiding behind it, just needs either help or guidance. Well, I can't hear Steve. Is that just me?
No, he's lost his volume.
That's not a bad thing. I'm joking. Nice to see we got someone from Dubai, though. Hello, William.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better. He's back.
Right. Thank God for that. Right. Okay. So look, I'm not disputing that social branding and social marketing is something we should all be utilising. It is, and you've mentioned leadership, and you mentioned the training of people, and this is all correct. All right. This is no different to when I first started out when I was 17. When we used to come in, you'd have a dial-on time. You'd get on the phone, and there'd be somebody off sending faxes. What you doing? I'm sending some faxes. I'm sending out some letters. Actually, physical mail's making a comeback. But they'd be off. They'd be off looking for an activity that they thought was selling, but it wasn't. It was promotion and branding. Okay, and we'd always have to try and get them on the phone. We'd always have to try and get them to speak to people because that was the only way we was going to eventuate a sale. This is no different. Now, the propaganda around social selling and social marketing is my issue. I think it's getting over-egged. I don't think we're at the point now in the future that could change. Where it is as effective as people say it is, and it's usually people who either sell into corporations want to sell a social media strategy or a social marketing strategy. But it's actually affecting a lot of senior people who might invest a lot of time and effort, money into this or a strategy that they're not getting a lot out of it. I speak to senior salespeople all the time, VPs of sales for tech companies, channel managers, marketing managers. Where are your sales coming from? Where are you getting your leads? Now, they are getting stuff from marketing, as a marketing qualified lead, but the salespeople aren't sitting on social media talking to a CISO and sharing a meme. That's not what's happening. It is not what's happening. And the problem is some of the stuff that's getting shared on social media, the message is not consistent. Now, I know you, Dan. I've watched your work. I've seen what you do, and I would recommend anyone who wants to do this sort of thing would reach out to you. There's no better person in the business, in my opinion. However, sometimes your message is not it's not continuous. You've posted a number of stuff at the start of the year about cold calling's going to die in 2015. Who's afraid of the big bad cold? And you've been called out on this loads of people. Now, I know that you're posting this stuff because there's an agenda behind it. You've got classes to fill, and you actually believe in some of this stuff. And if you actually read the documents, it always goes back to combination prospecting, omni prospecting, multi-channel prospecting, and we're on the same page. We're 100% on each. But some people, especially some of the younger people who I work with, are going to read into that and go, I need to stop working. I need to just go on social media, and it's affecting people's target. People are not scoring as quick as they do. Heard from you or had a contact with you. In this day and age, with all the sales intelligence technology out there, why are you cold calling? You've got Zoom Info, you've got Discover.org, you can find all that sales intelligence. You've got Marketo, you've got VanillaSoft, you've got SalesLoft. You're providing cadences, so when you do call people, you know who you are, why you're calling, and what you're calling them about, and you can have an effective quality conversation. Or they've seen your product, which enables you to start selling once it's qualified, once it's a qualified lead. Who the hell is sitting there ringing a list of Betty, Joan, Jean with a number and hoping that someone picks up and someone can sell? If you're doing that, yeah, you need to stop. You need to have a word with yourself and look at other alternatives. Rightly so, just like emailing people randomly is a problem, just sending people spam emails is a problem. If you're not having any thought process into what you're doing, you should be looking at other alternatives. My message is always made the same: combination prospecting, multi-channel prospecting, but it's not the same for every business. The ingredients you put in and the measures you put them in is not the same for every business, and it's not the same for any product and every individual. Your leader has to work out what that is and use your time effectively. And in this day and age, I don't think it should be leveraged as high on social media as it should be with human interaction.
There's a really good point, actually. I'm going to just respond to that, but it was good to see Daryl crashing the chat box talking about marketing again. Nice to see you on here, Daryl, and bringing the social marketing debate into this one as well. We might get to that in a minute, but just to respond, my message has always been the same. And yes, I've posted stuff just so everyone knows my standpoint on cold calling. I have spent over 10 years making and leading cold calling. I've done it. I know it works. I know it still works now, but I have an opinion on the future of cold calling. So you're right. I wrote a blog. It was 2025. In just a date I plucked out to sort of highlight a key point that the younger generations coming into the world, not just as salespeople but as buyers, are showing a lot of signs that they're less likely to answer the phone, a lot less likely than people these days. So if we're going to enter into a world where modern buyers and decision makers in the future aren't going to answer the phone, then what future does cold calling have? They're going to be more likely to respond through instant message, video, and essentially social media. Now, none of that's fact. This is just opinion. All I'm doing is looking at the signs that things around the world are kind of showcasing us. But I've never ever said that cold calling is dead right now. I've never told people not to make cold calls now. I have an opinion, like I said, on the future. I don't know how long that future could be. It could be 2025. It could be before. It could be after. But that's a bit separate to this. My standpoint has always been same as yours, Steve. To be fair, it's look, you've got a ton of tools in front of you. The best approach you've got is to use as many of them or as all of them as possible. But your point in questioning what potential does social selling have as one of those tools is, I think, a lot greater than perhaps you give credit to. And I think it would be wrong to sort of put out this mist to salespeople to make them feel like it's not got potential, because then you're just going to scare them off from doing it. And I don't want people to be scared to pick up the phone. And I don't want people to be scared to log onto LinkedIn and actually start using it effectively. And there are, like I said, there are people using it very effectively. And one final thing to confirm, I know I sit here with a big social audience and a brand that I've built up over the last 3 years, which makes it easier now. But I was using it successfully 3 years ago, as I was when I had no personal brand, I had no audience, but I was still utilizing the things that I teach and preach back then to generate sales, large and small. So yes, granted, it's easy now, but that's from 3 years of hard work and a lot of investment into the social media space. But I've done it without that as well, so I know it can work without it. Like I said, it just perhaps is a bit easier now. But then anyone can achieve that. If everyone started doing that within a couple of years, it'd be a lot easier for them as well.
Well, can I ask you a question? We look, my gut's always said this. We seem to be on the same page with regards to omni-channel, multi-channel prospecting, using sales enablement technologies and multi-channel approach. Why would you not? If you believe that, as I do, and if you are an advocate of it, as I am, why is the majority of your content you put out on social media regarding the utilization of social media as a prospecting tool?
Because that's what ultimately I'm I don't want to call myself an expert, but that's what my expertise sits in. So, I've got tons of sales experience, very confident in all aspects of sales, but social media and social selling is where I would argue my ability to talk and train is higher. So I don't want to be, a jack of all trades and master of none. I'm trying to focus and focus on one key area. It's not because I want it to be the only area that people do, but that's what I want to be seen as, one of the leaders in that space. So that's why my message focuses on that. But by no means do I want it. I try in all the content I create, I try to make sure people understand. I'm not saying just use social selling. I always try, and you'll see I've got tons of content I've created over the last couple of years that showcase the social phone, like Kenny Madden's famous drawing, and I've done several since, and sales toolkits and multi-channel. So I do try to portray that across. It's just that I want people to appreciate what I can help them with the most is the social part.
And no, I do agree with that. When you actually read some of your articles in depth, you do go into the omni-channel approach, multi-channel approach, use what works, fish where your prospects, live, all that sort of stuff. But most people are reading the first paragraph, and a lot of it is a little bit hyperbole around not using the phone. And forget cold calling. Let's park cold calling. I'm talking about using the phone as an outreach method to talk to prospects, right? Smart calling, using sales intelligence and a CRM is not cold calling, in my opinion. All right. So you've got to be very careful about what you put out on social media, because people are going to follow you, Dan. You've got a responsibility to show people and give people the right credible information. Otherwise, it just becomes a tool to follow that's actually not credible and also affecting people's sales targets. As an expert, as someone who's got access to many businesses, as someone who's taught many people from junior to senior, what sort of deals are getting closed via social? What sort of leads are getting generated via social? No phone, no email, just social as a channel. In your opinion and what you've seen right now?
I mean, it will differ, of course. I had a message come through today from someone, and I can't remember what industry or what they were selling, but it was a message that I saw, and it was 50-50. They said 50% of their business as a sales team comes from social, 50% of it comes from traditional things like the phone. And you make a good point. I know there's cold calling and there's warm/smart calling. What I know is that there are still a lot of people out there and businesses that are cold calling. They can't afford those software tools, those platforms, or they haven't got the infrastructure to embed them. So there are a lot of people still sat with a list of data and picking up the phone and dialing. So cold calling still lives, and it works. I'm not here to say it doesn't work, but I fully get what you're saying. Smart calling, 100%. That warm call where, again, all the tools come together, tools like, the platforms that are out there and social media, bringing it together is definitely going to evolve the way. I did an article earlier this year about why cold calling was like Blockbuster, and my message in that was really clear, in that Blockbuster should and could still be around today. If it had evolved and adapted as a business, it would still be here. And that's exactly what cold calling is in at the moment. It needs to adapt. Businesses need to start to use all these various tools like social media, like the sales enablement tools out there to warm and make those calls a lot smarter, so that the phone evolves in the way it's used by salespeople.
Yeah, look, we're all for revolution. We're all for evolution. As salespeople, we should be life learners. We should be looking at new technology. We should be looking at new techniques, methods, and we should be sharing them. But we should also be sharing best practices and actual factual information about stuff that works, not just opinions, not just conjecture, not just projecture. We should be sharing facts, and that was what led to my initial post around. Can someone give me some examples of deals closed on social? Now, I know you close deals on social. But whoever's listening, hit me up. Have you closed a deal on social? Have you generated I have. I can give examples of people I've generated as a prospect on social via branding marketing, who's come to me, who I then spoke to, met, and actually become a business partner of theirs. But can anybody else? I mean, what sort of deals are getting closed via social channels? Because that just sounds like a transaction to me. The majority of people. Go on.
Sorry, Steve. Do you think the confusion comes from the selling part that's added to social? If it wasn't called social selling, do you think we'd be having this debate right now?
No, because it doesn't matter. If someone had come to me and said, put all your money into marketing, Steve, and just do marketing, social's a channel. It's one channel that marketeers use to create demand, which then creates leads, which salespeople qualify, start a sales conversation. If the sale, in fact, I'm going to quote Darryl Prale for this, because I think I've got the information from him. It's a transaction. If someone just goes on your website and purchases something, it's a transaction. Now, if someone said to me, put your money in marketing, Steve, or go get loads of training in marketing, and I gravitated to that as my only method, I'd be stupid. Someone would have to come to me and say, Steve, again, go back to the Top Gun analogy. Don't lose your dogfighting skills. You've been successful up to this date using the following techniques. Add marketing to it and enhance game. Add the missiles to your plane and enhance your game. Become unstoppable. Don't swap one for the other. And that's what I'm seeing when I'm meeting entry-level ISRs, SDRs, BDRs, and in a number of different teams. I can see them spending too much time on social. They don't understand. Dan's taken 3 years and a lot of hard work to get to where he is. I've been using my social profile for about 2 years, and I get leads created for me. But it's not easy. It's certainly not easy. And if I think of the amount of business I do more business drinking whiskey and eating food in a restaurant in London than I do on social media. And bear in mind, I've got 20,000 connections. I don't have 20,000 meals a year in London. So when I weigh it both up, where should I spend my time? At this stage, maybe in the future, it's definitely not on social media, even though I do spend too much time on social media.
Again, it will differ from what you're selling. Just to quickly, I really want to kind of shut off the whole marketing thing, and I'm sure Darryl's got plenty he's going to want to say at this point. But my point and argument with the whole marketing piece is, yes, you're right. Like I say, you write a blog, you put it out there, a lead comes in, a transaction comes in. Of course, that's a marketing effort. If you get a lead and they're ready to buy, then you're an order taker. I fully get that. However, as you know, I've tried to sort of put out there, if you then proactively start conversations on social media, whether it's replying to comments, whether it's sending direct messages, that is selling, because that's no different to picking up the phone and making a call. You're starting a conversation. That is a sales activity. Hence, social selling is a thing. Yes, it involves social marketing. And the beauty of it is you can create content and attract inbound leads and go out there and start outbound conversations. And that's where a lot of salespeople are very confused about. And that's one of the things I'm really trying to put out there. I knew this would poke Darryl a little bit.
So Steve, just to go back to what Dan just said, right? So when you, in your team, when they are cold calling or pushing out phone calls, say, or whatever. Let me
just stop you there, brother. Yeah, we don't cold call.
No.
Right, so let's stop. That's
fine. Okay, so they pick up the telephone. Okay, they pick up the telephone to whoever they've got to speak to.
Yeah.
Do you class that as part of your, as them actually selling, or do you class that as a prospecting activity?
Prospecting activity. Is
prospecting sales or marketing though?
It's a prospecting activity. Selling starts once the lead has been qualified. And
that's what I'm trying to get at.
Okay, that selling does not start until we've qualified the lead. the people who go out and meet the people, do the demonstrations, qualify the prospect, work out if the solution's a good fit to their needs and wants, then the selling starts. Up until that point, it's a request for information. It's a request for information or an interest from a person who's not qualified. That's what we do. We create demand, which is via different channels, whether it's social channels, whether it's the phone, whether it's an event. We create a demand, which is a marketing activity, and which fills a pipeline. We prospect using a number of different methods. These prospects go into a funnel. They're qualified, whether it's marketing qualified lead, sales qualified lead. Once that's done, the sales process starts, and it can go into someone's long-term forecast, which has been keeping people in jobs for years. Okay, but once it goes in there, the selling starts. Okay, that's when the process starts.
So I mean, prospecting has always been a sales activity, though. I'm confused at why it's suddenly being presented as a marketing. It's trained by sales trainers. It's done by salespeople, and yet suddenly it's being argued that it's a marketing activity. And this whole qualification piece, I get it. In the ideal world, of course, qualified leads exist, and in large enterprise companies, of course, you're going to have those engines. But in the reality of SME businesses out there, that doesn't exist, and a lot of salespeople have to do everything. They have to go out and generate their own leads and then close those leads. So the salesperson does everything. Now, I can happily to argue what counts as marketing, but ultimately, prospecting is trained as a sales activity. And yes, you can say nothing is a sale until it's sold, but then you're almost arguing that, the only salespeople out there are the ones closing deals. Yet sales structures involve everything from prospectors through to, account managers.
What a sale is to give or hand over something in exchange for money or the equivalent. So at that point, the selling is the lead up to that point. Until we've qualified the prospect, until we know that we've got a good fit, if the selling's not started, at that point we've just generated interest. So that's where the confusion starts, and that's why I have this conversation with a lot of the people who I train, a lot of people I work with. I ask them, I go into an office, the pipeline's low, not hitting targets. I meet with the lead generators, the demand generators, and I look at what they're doing. You think they're selling, but what they're doing is a bit bad marketing, borderline prospecting. And I asked them, why are you here? And they said, oh, I thought it was a sales and marketing job. No, it's not. No, it's not. That's not what you're hired to do. Yeah, you're hired to create demand that generates sales. And ultimately, we gravitate too heavily towards the marketing aspect of it. And if you want to work in marketing, that's what you should go and do. And the selling does not start until it's a sales qualified lead. Adam, are you okay there, mate?
I've been trying to keep up.
I'm back. I'm just trying to keep up. What I wanted to do is quickly go to the messages and ask and look at some questions. Now we're getting towards the time. 20 minutes left. So we've got some people here that have asked some questions. So I'll just spend some time flicking through those. If anyone's got any questions that you want to raise to Steve or Dan, type it in now and we'll see them right through. I know.
I saw a few come up, but there's been quite a few chats. So I'm struggling to pinpoint the key questions.
Yeah, that's.
I just want to make a point here before we go off.
Yeah, sure. Go.
As people who've collectively got a fairly large social brand, in the UK, and someone who's got a following, we have a responsibility to give out credible information. I know you're very passionate about that, especially with your daily sales brand. It's something you've grown massively, and it's going to continue to grow. And if you believe in multi-channel prospecting, as do I, as I practice, we need to come together with that message and bring together the best practices and collectively get information from experts, not just opinion pieces. Information from experts, facts, figures, people with no agenda to sell, people with no agenda to build themselves up. Literally, best practices across the sales industry we can share with your followers and my clients, which will in turn create a better service and a better result.
No, look, Steve, I am all for educating people, and I try to find the best people to work with, and we should definitely join forces to try and help. Like I said, my place on this, where if I was hiring, if I had a team of cold callers and I wanted a cold calling trainer, I would look for the best cold calling trainer out there. And all I'm trying to be and be seen as is one of the best social selling trainers out there, so that when people need that solved, that's what I can solve. But you're right. Let's find more ways that my piece of the puzzle can then be seen alongside other key pieces of the puzzle, so that salespeople understand all of those pieces together form the bigger picture. And you're absolutely right. Let's make sure that the sort of combo approach is put out there a lot more, and people appreciate what each one does and how they all tie in together. Look, there is still so much smoke and confusion around this whole marketing, prospecting. What do salespeople do? How do you use these platforms? How do you make good cold calls? How do you use social media? There is so much confusion out there, and somehow through all of this, all I want to do is clear that smoke away and help salespeople from different industries, different sized businesses understand that as a salesperson, you've got a set of tools in front of you. You need to learn, practice, and master each of those tools to get the most out of them. One's a phone, one's email, one's face-to-face. They all require different skills. And that's all I want to do. And you're right. Let's look at how we can, make sure enough content goes out to help with that.
I think the key is having a standard branded message, isn't it? And understand the difference between actually where it fits within a sales process rather than people. Some people may be assuming, some people may be assuming that cold calling is there. Some people may assume that cold calling is the only place to go to. But I think, as you said earlier, the evolution has to be embraced. We teach evolution all the time. However, it's a clear message of where something fits within a process rather than a sole tool to be able to use.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I think that's what needs to be cleared. And I think then all the discussion, there's nothing to discuss really. Is there, apart from, the case of actually it's a tool within a process, Steve?
Look, it is a tool within a process. Again, I want to just try and simplify my message. You should be using everything that works in the measures that work for the way your prospect wants, the way your customers want to buy. All right. Don't believe the hype. It's not applicable to every organization, every level of sale, or every level of complexity. Look internally, right? Just like anything, if you go to the gym and you're not losing weight, people reach out and they go, I need a new pill, I need a new diet, I need a new this, right? Ask yourself the question, look at your sales team, are they doing the basics well consistently? Before you start looking for the next great solution to your problems, are you doing the basics well consistently? If the answer is yes, and you can articulate your value proposition correctly, you've got an aligned marketing message, you know who your prospects are, you've got the right data, you've had a great team, you've hired the right people. If the answer is yes, again, evolve it, reach out, get some social training. You're going to need it for the future and now. But don't expect it just to come in and just solve all your problems. And that's my issue with it. I see it is something that's very effective for me. I don't think it's very effective for a lot of people in the short term. I don't think it's effective for every person the same. And I think people need to really reach out for the right information, for the right people, but also be honest with themselves. Are you doing the basics well? Are you doing the basics well consistently? The answer is yes. Evolve your game, or sort out your initial stuff first.
Steve, you mentioned that we have this responsibility, and I know I have a slightly bigger responsibility, but you have a large audience. And my only issue is you're standing here today, still putting shade on social selling, still trying to dampen it. And no one is out there trying to say it's a silver bullet. No one is saying just use it or that it's something much more bigger than it is. It's as simple as some people will answer the phone, as you said, and Daryl's highlighted, sell where your customers want to buy. And the reality for most industries out there is some of your prospects will answer the phone. Some of them will reply to an email. Some of them will respond to social. We all have these different preferences. Now, I don't, like I said, the future of cold calling is a different thing. At the moment, all work really powerful. And all I want to have is a unified positive message that social is a very good tool. And a lot of people don't know how to use it because it's probably the newest tool that salespeople are using. We've had cold calling for a very long time. We've had email now for quite a while, so salespeople are generally getting a lot better at that. Social is the newest tool that salespeople have out there. So it's new for them to learn, and it's new for businesses to integrate into the teams. And there's still so much that people are not doing in that space. And like I said, that's all they should be doing, but it's making sure they understand that puzzle piece as much as possible so they get the most out of all of those tools.
Dan, if someone needs social training, I'll tell them to reach out to you, because ultimately you're a leader in the space, and I'm not saying people don't need to learn their skills. I'm not saying people don't need to gravitate towards you. They certainly do, because like I said, you're a leader in this space. However, look at your basics. Are you doing the basics well consistently? You need to sort that out as well. Okay, because that's the problem I'm seeing. People will use the new approach to whatever it will be, whether it's prospecting, marketing, or sales. They'll gravitate towards that. But actually, that's not the problem. The problem's in the basics. So the social selling stuff should add an extra layer of activity and prospecting and marketing to us all. It should really enhance us all, but not at the expense of everything else. And I'm sure you agree with that.
No, actually, that's a really good point. So I don't. A spin-off debate that came off of this was one I had with Larry Levine, who's the author of Selling from the Heart, and we actually had a Skype call. I think it was on Friday, and I've known him for a long time, and we had a bit of friction on social media. But actually, when we spoke about it, he highlighted the core point that what his personal mission is to help exactly that, Steve, the core basics of salespeople, the core sales skills that we need to have. Because once you've got those skills, whether you apply it on the phone, whether you apply it face to face or via social, that's where success comes from. It's the same skills that drive success in those different platforms. And so 100%, and Larry really sort of echoed that. And again, my conversation with him to sort of highlight that I fully back that mission. My mission is to sort of help that from, like I said, the social sort of standpoint. Daryl did put a comment saying that there are social sellers out there that are presenting it as a silver bullet. So I'm going to maybe take this conversation offline, and anyone who's out there putting that message in, I will approach and talk to them personally and try to make sure that as an industry, we're selling it in the right way, because I don't want social selling to be missold out there or put out in a way that it shouldn't be. In the same way, no one wants salespeople to be seen as negative. We know salespeople are some of the best people out there. A lot of them go out with the most honest intentions to try and help people, and it's the same for sort of social sellers.
Fair enough. Agreed.
Right. Okay. I think we're near enough there. I'm just looking at the chat as we go, but I think people pretty much are answering their own questions, if I'm truly honest with you. But we'll anyone wants to ask any questions afterwards, there'll be a link that will be sent out with a video that will have a link to a Twitter where you can ask questions, and Dan will be tagged in there and all those sorts of things. So just have a think of that sort. But I just wanted to summarize exactly here that actually we've come from something to an agreement of exactly where social actually sits, where social selling actually sits. And I think actually really it boils down to sitting in the sales process, and it also then depends on the criteria of your business, industry, organization, where your client buys from, depending on which avenue to use. So once again, let's have a look. Is anyone got any questions?
That's a really good question. So he's asked, how many deals of mine leave social media and transition to an email, phone discussion before the
spotted
included? And that's a really, really good question. And I'll be fully honest, probably the majority of my sales, like I said, they all start on social media, but the majority go to either an email, usually a Skype or a Zoom, sometimes a phone call, and in the rare instances a face-to-face if it's relatively local. And yeah, the sale is usually then closed mostly via email and occasionally via sort of belly. The majority, transition through various other methods as well.
Right, back.
Did everyone hit?
We're back. I think it's just temporary, useless technology as per usual, Dan.
Any other questions? Because we kind of got probably a good 5 minutes.
Before. Yeah, we've got a good 5 minutes. Yeah, ask anything in the chat room, and we'll more than happy to answer it.
Any confusions around social selling or even how you use the tools? I mean, look, Steve is one of the best sales trainers out there, and he is truly applying the best methods right now by using all the tools. He's smart calling, he's using all the technologies out there. He's got a great team that are delivering great results. So Steve, I've got huge respect for what you're doing. I think your insight is crucial, because like I said, you're out there leveraging all these tools properly, which so many aren't doing.
Yeah, I mean, we're a little bit behind in some of our processes and some of our technology used in prospecting and sales in the UK and across EMEA. However, I'm privileged enough that I can get to work for a lot of US-based companies who have opened my eyes up to a lot of the stuff we're using over there, especially in sales enablement. So I recommend anyone listening to this, anyone watching this, you need to reach out and learn and evolve, okay? Now, but not at the expense of your basic communication skills. Okay, it's meant to enhance you. I think someone from Dreamforce said it. I've said it many, many times, which is just like Iron Man. You're meant to get enhanced. However, you're still driving the suit, guys. You're still.
Oh, I don't know about everyone else. Steve keeps cutting out. I keep missing all this great stuff he's probably saying.
He's gone on mute, I think.
No, no.
Yeah, that's debatable. Right, so yeah, Iron Man, you should be like Iron Man. Get inside the suit, drive it, use all the tools, but still have your charisma and your personality to drive it, not at the expense of your basic communication skills. That's the key message. Don't reach out for something that's going to solve your problems. No, it's going to help you. It's going to enhance you. But be honest with yourself. If you're a sales manager, if you recruited the wrong people, social selling is not going to help them. Get rid of them. Just like smart prospecting is not going to help them. Move on, get a new person, take ownership for what you're doing, and learn. Why we're not collectively learning as a sales industry and learning from the states, learning from people who have success and copying and following suit is an issue. I just think we need to gravitate towards what works and what's going to work, and continue to learn in this space.
That's really well said. Look, real salespeople, genuinely driven salespeople, they have that fire burning in, and they're passionate about going out and selling and helping people. And then they will use whatever tools they've got. They will find any opportunity they can to sell. And you're absolutely right, Steve. Those are the core things, like the Iron Man analogy. The salesperson still needs to be driving it in the same way. And this is, real salespeople are the ones that are out there, and they're always looking for sales opportunities. They'll be in the till at the checkout at the supermarket, overhear a conversation, someone talks about their product, and they start a conversation with them. Real salespeople will look for opportunities everywhere. All that changes over time is the tools that we have to be able to sell. And I think you're absolutely right. That's what certainly focus on first, is make sure you know how to sell those core sales skills, communication, presentation, all those things. Then the tools come next, how you leverage those tools to their sort of full potential. But yeah, sales is a core skill.
Cool. Right, let's just see if anyone's got any questions. I think people are just having a bit.
So it looks as if, unless Adam's got anything else to add.
No, I think we're there, guys. I think there's. I'm just flicking through the questions, and there's nothing left.
And we should maybe just knock it on the head.
Oh, Andrew, can you hear me?
Yeah, just a question about how you're dealing with GDPR, Steve.
Well, again, GDPR, it comes down to the quality of your list, the quality of your prospect. Adam, I'm not very happy with your hosting skills during this webinar. Who are you talking to? You're talking to your brother or something? What's going on?
No, I'm talking to you. I was just saying, it's. I was just repeating, as Dan was saying. I was just repeating Andrew's question for you.
Take that as a yes. All right then.
Yeah.
So if anyone's.
I think, Andrew, you sort of just asked for a bit of clarification. I think what Steve's saying is that with GDPR, all you need to do is ensure that the list you've got are properly signed up, ticked all the boxes. They know exactly why they're on that list. And there are a lot of organizations that, do all of that for you. So you still get the data, but it's just cleaned to the standard that GDPR now requires.
Yeah. And again, if you've been effectively calling a smart calling, you've created a list of people who are interested in your product, have requested a call, or who are looking for your products and services with an opt-in. So that's effectively what you should be doing, and that's why cold calling, what people keep confusing with phone prospecting, or using the phone to prospect, is where the issue is.
Massively.
Seen a lot of Adam's finger. There you go, Adam's. Your finger's getting some.
Adam, your magic finger. I don't know what that's about, mate. But it's been making me paranoid. I keep thinking you're pointing at me. There he is. Get your finger
there we are. I'm back.
Now, or what's the strangest engagement you've each had that's led to a closed sale? That's a very interesting question, Steve. Maybe you could give us an example. I'm confused as to perhaps what would classify as a strange engagement.
One time I was out having a few whiskies and went to the gents, as you do, went to relieve myself. Chap, I maybe had a few too many drinks, started talking to me. I was like, hold on, this is a bit weird. Anyway, worked in the same industry as me. Reached out to me on LinkedIn. Sounds a bit dodgy. At a later date, phoned him up, spoke to him, led to a closed deal, or led to a business partnership. So you can really meet people anywhere if you're open to it. I don't recommend chatting to men in toilets. That can lead to some trouble or a bit of misinterpretation. But if someone's got a need for your product, they're going to find you.
That could be your next class, Steve. Toilet prospecting.
Well, yeah. No, I'll give that one a miss, mate.
Locker room at the gym.
I think Steve Neal's done a bit of locker room action. I'm sure he told me a story about that in the past. He was there, something along those lines. But yeah, you got to find the deals where you find them.
I don't think I have any really crazy stories like that. I'm probably really boring in the reality. Disappointed, really hoping for some yelling and cursing and serious conflict.
Daryl, I'd be happy to yell, but Adam just keeps disappearing. You know, if I'd had a top quality host on here like you, it may have been different. But I think here we go. He's back.
I think Steve's going to start yelling at the finger in a minute.
All right, Adam, just log out, mate. I can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Daryl's going to take over.
All right. All right. On that bombshell, Dan, I want to thank you for your time. I know you've taken it in good humour. I had a few serious points to make. You know I can be a serious individual, but I respect the fact that you've come out, you've argued your points, you've listened to what I had to say, and we agree on a few things. We still don't agree on everything, but I'm sure we'll work together on some stuff in the future, and then reach out to you for a conversation or a beer or a coffee at some point, and we'll have a further discussion. So thanks for your time. Keep doing what you do, and happy hunting. Take it easy.
Adam's making so much noise. Steve, I appreciate those kind words. It's been good to. I think the problem we have when you're on social media is it's all words, and it's quite nice to talk face to face, even via an online platform like this, and hopefully clear some of the confusions. Like you say, there are still some out there, but look, we're unified on the fact that salespeople need to use all tools, and I'm sure together we can help educate more people on how they use those tools to the best of their ability.
All right, Adam.
You probably.
I'm gonna let you make your tea and your dinner. Let you finish cooking your dinner. Well, thanks for joining us on this webinar. I appreciate it.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for letting me join.
All right.